There has been a campaign of falsehood about this whole sorry episode, and it has disserved the American public. As I said earlier, facing up to the questions of our use of torture is hard enough. It is worse when people are misled and don't know the whole truth, and so can't form an informed opinion, and instead quarrel over irrelevancies and false premises. I will warn you, the record is bad, and the presumption of truth that executive officials and agencies should ordinarily enjoy is now hard to justify. We've been misled about nearly every aspect of this program. I want my colleagues and the American public to know that, measured against the information I've been able to gain access to, the storyline that we have been led to believe, the storyline about waterboarding that we have been sold, is false in every one of its dimensions.
Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island giving a long, indignant, impassioned speech on the Senate floor last night about torture, warning essentially that everything we think we know about it, at least everything we've been told about it officially, is wrong. And as of today, we can report that we're about to know a lot more. A bunch of probably very inflammatory new information is about to drop on the issue of torture. First, the New York Times reports that the CIA is about to show us whatever it is that was redacted in these transcripts that you see on the screen. These were released from the tribunals at Guantanamo. This is apparently the part of the transcripts where prisoners explained how they had been treated since being in U.S. custody. We are expected to get that stuff unredacted really soon, by Friday. Also, and this is a big one, the Justice Department has just said in a letter to a federal judge that it will finally release the CIA's own report on the torture program from 2004. This document, this report, is sort of the big kahuna in terms of what we have been waiting to see from the government's own files on torture. It was the Inspector General of the CIA way back in 2004 looking into what the CIA was doing in its interrogation program. And that report, which is long and has been described by people who have seen it as sickening, apparently stopped the torture program in its tracks. We are about to learn why. Here now to make sense of this is our interpreter-in-chief, Michael Isikoff, Newsweek investigative reporter and MSNBC contributor. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you.
There's a lot of stuff happening and about to happen on the issue of torture right now. Which of these developments do you expect will have the biggest impact on the debate?
It's hard to say because while each one of these things could provide significant new information, what we don't know is how complete the disclosures are going to be. This Friday, we're supposed to see the unredacted portions of those combatant status review hearings where the detainees described what was actually done to them. Will the unredacted portions be completely unredacted? Will they lay it all out? We don't know. More significant even than that, of course, is the IG report. There are hints, this Inspector General report in the CIA, there are footnotes, very significant footnotes in the interrogation memos that came out a couple of months ago that indicate and quote from the Inspector General's report that what was actually done went beyond what was authorized, that the how waterboarding was conducted, the frequency with which it was conducted, and the manner in which it was conducted was beyond what the CIA told the Justice Department was going to do when the Justice Department authorized the technique. Now, will we see the complete unredacted report? That is the key question here, and we don't know the answer to that yet.
Well, what's driving these releases? Are they being forced to release these things, or are they deciding to release these things?
Nothing is really voluntary here. This is all being done in the process of Freedom of Information Insurrection Act lawsuits, mainly filed by the American Civil Liberties Union. And, you know, I have to say, a couple of months ago, just before those interrogation memos were released, I and others had said it was going to be a key test of the Obama presidency's commitment to transparency if they disclosed those memos. If they did, it would open the floodgates for a lot of this to come pouring out, and we'd begin to see the full scope, the full story of the program. But what's actually turned out is, rather than that one disclosure being a big breakthrough, it's become trench warfare, document by document. A fight goes on over it, in which the CIA and the intelligence community has pushed back hard. The other day we had this affidavit from Leon Panetta, the director of the CIA, saying that he didn't want the operational cables discussing what was actually done in the interrogations of Abu Zubaydah, for instance, because it would because it still needed to be classified, because it would provide ammunition for critics of the United States. In other words, if we saw the abuse, if the world saw the abuse, it would provide ammunition for critics of the United States to bash us. Well, that might well be the case, but is that an argument for not disclosing it?
It would seem that if you were arguing on the basis of national security that you couldn't disguise the identities of either sources or intelligence officers or something if those things are released, that's the sort of way you get around a Freedom of Information Act request. You don't get out of one by saying it'll make us look bad because we did wrong.
Right, right. And look, it's clear that people in the intelligence community never wanted this stuff out to begin with. And there was a lot of criticism of the White House when it did. There are three key questions to look for when after we see how much of this gets disclosed. One, were there interrogations, harsh interrogations that began before the Justice Department legal authorizations were given? That's very key in terms of whether or not criminal acts were conducted before the authorizations. Number two, did they go beyond what was authorized? And number three, were the harsh interrogation techniques like waterboarding used for purposes other than what the CIA said they were being used for? I think this is something that what Senator Whitehouse was referring to. It, you know, did it go beyond just finding out about possible plots against the United States to provide other information, such as supplying possible evidence that could be used to justify the war in Iraq, information about Iraq al-Qaeda ties, which didn't really go to operational plots that were imminent against the United States.
And wasn't the grounds on which any of this stuff was purportedly authorized. Exactly. Michael Isikoff, MSNBC contributor, investigative correspondent for Newsweek. Look forward to having you back when some of this stuff comes out over the next few days. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.